There we go. Awesome. Okay, so first and foremost, I need to apologize for my hair. I have no idea what it's doing. I need to re-dye it black. I have just not been doing that. Also, welcome to the corner of bad lighting. It is 6:20 p.m. I can read a clock. It's fine. 6:20 p.m. at night. I'm using the Goodish camera, and here we go for another book review. I have myself a nice little drink here, and I plan to drink it as we talk. And it's pretty vile, but we're gonna drink it anyways because we don't want to waste. So there we go. So today I wanted to talk about an interesting book that I actually listened to. I listened to this book, I didn't actually read it. It is The Invisible Life of Addie, LaRue. So to begin with, it's a YA novel. Nothing wrong with that. You know, YA novels, they're great. I have an entire section here of YA novels that I love. This is Sabriel. Listen to all of them. They're fantastic. I have all of them here on my bookcase. I love them. And if you want another really great book to listen to, Gideon the Ninth and then Harrow the Ninth is amazing. The third one is coming out, which is also really good, or at least it's going to be good. I imagine it's going to be good. Anyway, so I'm not unfamiliar with YA novel books. So when I saw that The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue was a YA, you know, I didn't really think too much about it because it was by V.E. Schwab. And I have, you know, The Darker Shade of Magic. I have the 3 books that are inside this series. I absolutely loved them, so I thought, you know, The Secret Life of Addie LaRue was going to be just as amazing. So I listened to The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, and I was looking at the reviews after I finished it, and they were very polarizing. There were people who loved it, and people who hated it. There was no middle ground. It was this, or it was this. Well, I can tell you that there is a middle ground, and it is this. I didn't love the book. I didn't hate the book. I tolerated the book. It was fine. It was fine. Let me tell you a little bit about the book. This is spoilers, by the way, so if you want to read This Invisible Life of Addie LaRue or listen to it, if that is your choice, go ahead and do that before you see this kind of book report on it, because I'm just gonna spoil it because I don't give a fuck. So the book is about a girl named Adeline LaRue. She is French, and she is from the small village of Villon, if I can say that correctly. Probably not. French people who speak French, please don't come after me. I'm trying my best. So she is a 23 girl from the village of Villon in France, and she doesn't want to get married, but her family decides to marry her off. And so what she does is she runs into the wilderness at night and decides to pray to the gods. There is a person inside the book named Estelle. She is an older woman who believes in the ancient gods, and Addie decides to believe in the ancient gods as well. And Estelle said never to pray to gods at night, but Addie decides to do that. So on the night of her wedding, she runs away, runs into a field or a forest. I don't remember. It doesn't matter. It's fine. She runs away. That's the point. And she offers up the ring that her father had made her out of wood, because her father is a wood carver. And she offers up the ring and prays to the gods at night. And the god that answers is kind of like devil mixed with like a reaper. It's really kind of fluid between those two things. In the book, he's called the Darkness. And this darkness answers Addie and, you know, makes a deal with her. And the deal is that she would have freedom forever, and then he would have her soul, because he deals with souls. And an interesting thing that I thought was pretty cool, because I'm a visual artist, so I thought this was an interesting little add-on to the story, was that Addie likes to draw a lot. She likes to draw with like charcoal and pencils a lot. And she keeps buying sketchbooks to keep drawing in them. She fills every single cranny of the sketchbooks and yada yada yada. Things that I should do that I don't do, but she does, and I feel kind of guilty for not having a sketchbook, because for some reason I can't draw on a sketchbook and I have to draw on the final piece of paper, and it's really, really weird, and why don't I sketch more often? You know. Anyway, we're not here to discuss myself. We're here to discuss Addie. So Addie likes to draw this particular character, and this particular character is a man with black hair and green eyes and very sharp kind of features or whatever. And when the darkness comes to make a deal with her because she prays at night, it's the character that she's drawn. And that's pretty interesting if you think about it. So her desire to be free forever, he says, all right, we're gonna do that. And so he does it. And what actually turns out to be is that Addie now lives forever. She can't die. She's immortal. And any mark that she makes disappears. So she can't draw, you know, if she were to hurt herself or something, the cut would go away. She can't make a mark on the world because that would tether her. And she's completely free. And another thing that comes with this curse, as she calls it, is people forget about her the moment she disappears. So she could walk into a store and say hi to the merchant, like move a little bit out of the merchant's view, come back, and then the merchant would be like, oh my goodness, you're inside the shop. How did you get here? Where are you from? Like, they don't remember her walking in at all. She immediately disappears the moment she's out of eye line of people. It's kind of tragic because she makes this deal with this devil. We're just gonna call him a devil because it's just so much easier. She makes a deal with this devil and she actually goes back to her family's farm or house or whatever. I don't know. I think it's a farm. Let's just say it's a farm. So she goes back to the farm and her mother and her father don't recognize her because she's been erased from them. And they think that she is crazy and they throw her out. And now she's completely free. She has no ties to anything whatsoever. Not even Estelle knows who she is. And she lives forever. And so the rest of the book is this interesting thing where the author goes forward in time to 2014 and then back in time. Then forward, then back. Then forward and back and forward and back and forward and back for the rest of the book. And I'm going to completely admit this. This is my fault. I decided to listen to this book trying to go to bed at night, so I would fall asleep to the book. And this book jumps forward and backwards in time so often that I would get lost. Not like, you know, the usual lost where it's like, oh, I fell asleep to this book. I'm not sure where I was inside the book, but like completely lost. So maybe if I had listened to this book when I was completely conscious, it would have made more sense. So I'll give that to the book. Anyway, so it goes back and forth between the times, and, you know, it talks about how she would bed down with lovers so that she could have a bed for the night, and then she would slip away in the morning because they would forget that they had slept that night together, yada yada yada. She would go into like a merchant store and she would try on some clothes. The merchant would forget about that she's even in there. She'd come out with the new clothes and the merchant would be like, oh, you know, how did everything fit? And she'd be like, oh, you know, you're stuck with what you have. And then she would walk out of the store with brand new clothes and she would leave her old clothes behind. Things like that. One day she goes to a bookstore and she decides to pick up the Homer's Odyssey. I have my own copy. Have I read it? Not since when I was in 10th grade. Am I gonna read it anytime soon? Hell no. So she picks up a Greek version of the Odyssey from this bookstore and she decides to walk out with it. And the guy behind the till, his name is Henry, and he says, hey, you have to pay for that. But she's confused because she went into the bookstore, he saw her, and then she went into the stacks, pulled out the book, and left the bookstore. And that wouldn't have been a problem because he would have forgotten that she was there. But he does not forget. He remembers that she was there. And it turns out that he's the only person in her entire 300 years of life that remembers who she is. And they fall in love because why wouldn't they fall in love? Duh. And let me put this Odyssey back actually. Oh, it's right by my fun copy of The Purple Palace and Other Poems by Shayna Clee. Oh my gosh, I need to read this. Oh, I'm so excited. It has fun drawings that she did inside the book. If you don't know who Shayna Clee is, I will leave a link down below. She is amazing. I love her. Anyways, so my Homer's Odyssey sits right next to her book because it's alphabetical. Anyway, focusing. Oh my god. Is someone dead up there? Wow. Anyway, I have no idea what that was. That sounded painful, whatever it was. Anyway, focusing. So they fall in love because he remembers her and she loves him. And it turns out that the reason that they can be together, how he remembers her, is that he also made a deal with this devil creature. So he made a deal with this devil creature where for his soul, he would be loved. He would be loved by everyone because he believes that no one loves him. So he makes this deal with this devil one night, and that's why the two can communicate with each other. Why it is that he can see her and she can love him without his curse. Oh my gosh. What is going on upstairs? This is why having dogs suck, because you can just hear them. Anyway, where were we? Oh yeah, so they can love each other because they both made deals with the same devil. It's so bad. It's such a bad drink. Oh my gosh. So they fall in love. This is a YA novel, alright? So there's no like steamy sex scenes or anything like that. So pretty much what happens is Addie tells Henry her life story because she can't write anything down. So he decides to write it down for her, and they go on a date, and they figure out that she can make a mark if her hand is over Henry's hand. Like he can write stuff, like his hand is like, you know, a limp fish, and then she comes by with her hand and she like makes the mark, and the mark stays. And so she decides to tell him her story. And then it flashes back and forth between her and the past and her and the past, blah 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 blah, back and forth all the time. And she talks about this devil guy and their meetings together, and it turns out that the ring that her father made, he gives back because he doesn't pay, like he doesn't ask for payment in objects like other gods do. You know, the old gods that Estelle believed in. Do you remember that? Alright, remember that. He deals in souls. So he gives Addie back the ring that her father made her. And the thing is that if she puts the ring on, then he will come. So she starts to despise the ring, and at every opportunity she tries to throw the ring away, and it would come back to her. It would be in her pocket, or it would be in her purse, and she throws it away, and then it shows up around her neck on a cord, and this ring she just can't get rid of. Anyway, and they're going along and everything's fine until, I don't remember how, but Henry tells her what actually happened the night that he sold his soul. So when he first told her, you know, I sold my soul so that everyone would love me, because not even his family loved him. Like, his family would, like, jeer at him, his family would, like, take him apart, like, everybody would take him apart and think he was worthless, and he felt so much, and everything hurt. And what actually happened on the night of the deal is that he was standing on this roof of his apartment, and he was going to jump. And this was because he felt so much hurt and so much pain. And so he decided to sell his soul for 12 months of everybody loving him. And he tells Addie this, and this is like 6 months into their relationship, so he only has a little bit of time left. And so what she does is, without his knowing, is that she puts the ring on, she calls upon the devil, and makes a new deal with the devil. I forgot to mention something that's really important. By the way, little Victor, my little voodoo doll, he says hi. He's sitting right here. He's watching me. He's cute. Eee. Anyway, focusing. Damn! I'm just all over everything tonight. We are done with the nasty drink. We can focus now. Oh God, where was I? I wish I could go back in the actual footage and like re-watch what I was saying, because sometimes I get distracted and then my brain goes and then I'm just gone and then I don't know what's going on. So he tells her that he's got only a little bit of time to live, and then she goes to the devil and makes a new deal. And the new deal is that, oh, that's what I was saying. I was saying that a little bit before she meets Henry, she actually hooks up with this devil guy. You know, they sleep together. He comes and they sleep together, and he loves her and she doesn't love him, but she sleeps with him because, I don't know, because she can, because she needs a place to stay, something like that. She makes a new deal with him, and the deal is that she will stay with him for as long as he wants, as long as he takes away Henry's deal. You know, the guy that she's actually in love with. The guy from the bookstore who caught her stealing a Greek version of the Odyssey. And he says, you know, oh, you have to convince me that you love me in order to do this. So they go on a date, and they bicker and they fight like they have been for 300 years. So she makes this deal with this devil, and in the end the devil takes it and Henry gets to live, but she has to stay with this devil and, you know, sleep, like be with him and sleep with him and all that kind of junk because he's in love with her. So she has to stay with him. And the book ends when Henry decides to publish all the notes that he's been taking, because, you know, remember when I was telling you earlier that Laddie, oh my gosh, can I speak tonight? No. All the stories that Addie was telling him, he decides to redraft and sell as a book, and he sells it under the title of The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, and he takes away his name off the cover of the book. He doesn't put his name on the book. And the book ends with her going to a bookstore and finding it on the shelf, and the devil showing up behind her, and she's showing him the book and saying, like, you know, he remembers, he hasn't forgotten me. And that's kind of like where the book ends, where she's stuck with the devil for as long as he can handle her, which is really interesting and specific. So the first time she made a deal with the devil, it was for forever. And then the second time she made the deal, you know, when Henry was involved, she said, until you can stand me. So the moment that the devil can no longer stand her, she gets to die, basically. She gets to have her spirit be free and die. So that's an interesting little tidbit that I should have pointed out earlier and didn't do that because I just didn't. This is 5th grade book reports. All right, we're not looking at like high school level book report here where there's actually some substance. This is just me retelling what was going on in the book. So the book ends with, you know, being like, hey, look at this, he remembers me. And that's it, the end, goodbye, close the book, be done. And I didn't like it. I did not like this book. I'll be honest, I listened to this book on Audible. This is not sponsored whatsoever. Audible has no idea that I exist, even though I've been paying them since 2014. This is not sponsored, but I listened to this book on Audible. And am I happy that I spent money, you know, a credit, because you get credits every month, and they're like, you pay like $16 every month and you get like 1 credit that you can spend on a book no matter how much the book costs. Am I happy that I spent a credit on this book? No. I'm not happy that I spent money on this book, even though it was just $16. That being said, did I hate the book? Was I just really upset about reading or listening to this book? No. I wasn't upset. I was upset that I spent money on the book. I wasn't upset that I listened to the book. I'm right in the middle. And like I said, a lot of the reviews were really polarizing. People were like, oh yeah, I love this book, or oh no, I hate this book. But I feel very neutral about the book. Like, okay, for example, I listened to A Darker Shade of Magic and the other 2 books in V.E. Schwab's series. I listened to them on Audible, and I liked them so much that I bought hard copies of them. Okay, quite honestly, that's how I mostly get my books. For example, I listened to, you know, The Wheel of Time on Audible first, and then I went out and I found the books. Anyway, so I listened to the whole, you know, Wheel of Time series, and then I bought the books. I listened to The Lies of Locke Lamora, and then I got all the books. So most of the books that I own are books that I have listened to and then went out and bought. So I actually have 2 copies of most of the books that I have, except for, you know, the anime and manga type stuff. That stuff is all original. I haven't bought any digital versions of that. Anyways, so am I gonna go out of my way and buy The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue? No, I will not. I am perfectly happy to forget that I even listened to this book. With Audible, you can return books, but not when they're finished. You know, you can't listen to a whole book and then return it and be like, oh, I hated it. You can't do that. So I'm gonna have this audiobook forever, or until Audible decides that it's gonna change its policies. And that's just gonna be okay. That's just gonna be okay. But I don't want a hard copy of it, you know. Part of me believes, or at least, you know, thinks. No, I would say believes. A part of me believes that Audible is going to shut down one day and I'm going to lose all of my audiobooks, which is why I go out and I buy/find the hardcover copies of these books so that I can read them. I'm actually rereading the Wheel of Time. I listened to it in 2014. I'm on book 4, and it feels like forever, but I'm so close to being done. So close. But it feels like it's going on forever, and there's like 14 books, so I'm only 4 books in, and I don't know what's gonna happen. Let's just say that. Anyway, so that's the book. She falls in love with Henry. It switches between being in France and other countries and being in 2014 New York City with Henry. She makes a new deal with the devil so that Henry is off the hook. She suffers for it. The end. Yeah. So, that's the end. There's nothing else that I could add. Victor has nothing else to add. It's just how it ends. Am I going to immediately wipe all this makeup off when this video is done? Yes. So that was The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, and yeah,